Okay, pre-cal students, we have learned how to graph a lot of different functions this year. Today we will be adding another function to our list called logarithmic functions. Okay, your heading for today is graphing logarithmic functions. Logarithmic functions, lesson 7.2, and be sure and include today's date. Okay, be sure and include today's date. All right, there we go. And let's continue on. Now, here are the steps for graphing logarithmic functions. Please understand, students, that these steps will be a little confusing, okay? And I'll explain them later, but they are not supposed to make sense until I've gone over them. So for now, just copy down the steps and then understand later. I will go over these with you, okay? So here we go. Step number 1, find the vertical asymptote. Okay, write that down, please. Find the vertical asymptote by setting the argument equal to 0 and solving. Copy that down, please. All log functions will have a vertical asymptote. Okay, copy that down, please. You need to know that step. I'll wait a second while you do that. Find the vertical asymptote by setting the argument equal to 0 and solving. Okay? All log functions will have a vertical asymptote. Okay, go on to step 2. Here we go. Step 2. Realizing that an argument can never be negative, or for that matter, 0. Okay? And we learned that yesterday. Make a table of values with 5 ordered pairs. However, listen, start with a number very close to the vertical asymptote. Okay? Start with a number very close to the vertical asymptote. I'll explain that later, but copy that down. So, realizing that an argument can never be negative, or 0 for that matter, make a table of values with 5 ordered pairs, starting with a number very close to the vertical asymptote. And I will explain that a little bit later. Step 3, sketch the graph. Okay, pretty simple, sketch the graph. Okay, sketch the graph. Okay, here we go, guys. Ready? Before we practice graphing any of these logarithmic functions, I want to show you a very common mistake that students make. A very common mistake. Here it is. Now, you can copy this down, or you can just listen to me, whatever you choose to do, okay? But look at these two logarithmic functions, and notice the difference. One of them has parentheses like this one does, and one of them does not. Now here's what you need to know. The only thing in this function here that you're taking the logarithm of is x. Nothing else. So really you can rewrite this like this. That would be totally acceptable because there's no parentheses around the x plus 2. Okay, so really what you're doing in this problem here is you're taking the logarithm of x and then you're adding 2 to whatever you get out. Okay? Now over here it's different. Here you're taking the logarithm of x plus 2, the entire thing. Do you guys see the difference? Okay, you must see the difference or you're going to be confused later when we start graphing these. So it's very important you see the difference here. In this one here, we're just taking the logarithm of x. In fact, another way you could rewrite this would be like this. You could put the 2 out front and then put plus log. That would be also the exact same thing. Okay, it really would be. That's the exact same thing because you're not taking the logarithm of the 2. Here, however, you are taking the logarithm of this entire expression. Okay, so please make note of that. You need to know that difference. This is a very common mistake that students make. So please understand that. Okay, continuing on. Now, there's one more thing I have to show you before we start graphing these functions called the change of base formula. Okay? Do not write this down. Just watch. Do not write this down. Just watch, okay? Okay, let's find the logarithm of, let's see, base 2 of 32. Okay, now yesterday you learned how to solve this, remember? I taught you how to set it equal to x like this. Now again, don't write this down, just watch. And then it went like this, correct? then we wrote this 32 as 2 to the 5th. Because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32. And then we had matching bases on both sides, so we crossed off the bases, and 5 equals x. Okay, so look what we did. You ready? Yesterday we learned how to solve this logarithm without using a calculator. And here's the answer right here. Got it? Now I want to show you something really cool. Remember I taught you yesterday the only 2 types of logarithms you could type into your calculator were log base what? 10, common logs, remember that? And log base e's, or in other words, natural logs, right? Well, I mean, I did not lie to you. That's all your calculator does, but there's another way to type this in to your calculator when you don't have a base e and when you don't have a base 10. There is a way to type this in. So everybody pay attention, okay? Here's what you do. With your calculator, you hit the log button. So go ahead and hit log if you would, students, please. Hit log. And then whatever your argument, when you hit log on your calculator, there should be a parenthesis that pops up right here. Go ahead and type in whatever the argument is. Go ahead and type in 32. Got it? Then hit divide. Okay? Then hit log again. And up pops this. And then whatever your base is, type your base in. And hit enter. And you know what you're going to get out? 5. Go ahead and do it and you'll see. Okay, I'm going to wait a second while you guys do that. Now, if you're not getting out 5, get some help from a student or something, because you really need to know how to type this in. This will work with any logarithm at all. It's so cool. So listen, if you don't have a base 10 right here, or if you don't have a base e right here, then use what we call the change of base formula. And that's where you type in the logarithm of the argument divided by the logarithm of the base. And it works every time. Okay? So if I said to type this into your calculator, you realize the base is 10, so there's nothing to do. Just type in log of 5 and hit enter. But what if I asked you to type this into your calculator? Log base 7 of 88. Well, guys, your calculator doesn't do base 7, so you would have to type into your calculator log of the argument. Make sure you close the parentheses, then hit divided by, and then log of the base, and then hit enter. Let me do that real quick to make sure you guys get the right answer. Okay, go ahead and type that in. Log of 88, enter, divided by, let's do it like this. Log of 88 divided by log of 7. Now students, be sure and close your parentheses right here. Okay, and also right down here. Okay, you should get this out right here. You should get 2.3008. So 2.301. Okay? Now it's very important you know how to do this, because in a second you have to be able to type functions like this into your calculator. And if you don't know how to type them in when it's a base 5, then you're not going to be able to type these into your grapher and get out a table of values. Okay? So it's very important that you understand how to do this. Alright? Let me give you one more to practice, and then we're going to go on, okay? Okay, try this one here. Okay, students, if you're typing this in correctly, you should get, if you're typing this into your calculator correctly, you should get out 2.9299. Okay? Alright, let's continue on. Now, let's go ahead and graph 1, 2, 3, and we're done. That's it for the whole video, okay? So here we go. Number 1. Copy this in your notes and let's graph this, okay? Alright, here we go. Now step 1 is to find the vertical asymptote, okay? So we're going to find the vertical asymptote. And the way that you do that is you take the argument, which is x, set it equal to 0 and solve. So x equals 0, and there's no solving to do. So you know your asymptote is right here at 0. So go ahead and put your asymptote right here. And it's so easy. It's so easy. Step 1 is done for you, okay? There we go. It's so easy, guys. Okay, now moving on. Now, step 2 says to make a table of values. But it says to do something really interesting. It says to get real close to the asymptote. Now look, guys, we know this is a vertical asymptote, so we know the graph is going to be over here somewhere, or it's going to be over here somewhere. Okay? So look, common sense, guys. You know you can't put -1 in for x. You know that, because you can't take the logarithm of a negative number. If you try to put -1 here, it won't work. You know that. So, what we're going to put in our table of values here is we're going to go barely past 0. So we're going to put 0.1. Got it? And then from there, we'll go ahead and put 1, 2, 3, and 4. The next whole numbers. Here's 0.1, and then we're going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see how I got really close to the asymptote by using 0.1? Okay? Now, you say, well, Mr. Arrow, why didn't you use -0.1? Because that would give me a negative argument. Look, guys, either the graph is on this side or it's on this side. Okay? Now, having said that, let's go ahead and get our calculators out now. How do you type this into your calculator? Well, here we go. First of all, turn your calculator on. Okay? Hopefully you can do that. Next, go to your window. No, go to your zoom button. Zoom. Top middle button. And hit zoom, and then hit 6, so you have a regular standard window. Okay? Next, go to your y equals button. Your little button that looks like this, top left. Little button like this. Okay, hit that, and we're going to type this in. Now remember, students, if it was a base 10, then you'd be home free. You would just type in log of x, because it's a base 10. And your calculator does base 10 for you. But it's not base 10, it's base 5. So we're going to have to type this thing in like it's like we did back here with the change of base formula. Okay? So here we go. Here's how you would type this into your calculator. Go ahead and hit the y equals button and then type this in. What's your argument here, 5 or x? X. So hit log, and this should pop up. Then hit x, then close your parentheses. Then hit divided by, like I taught you right back here. Same thing, okay? And then type in log. What is your base? 5. And there, now it's typed in. Now you're good for your table of values. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me go to my calculator real quick here. I've got all these typed in already, so I'm just so organized, you know. All right, here we go. So here's my table of values. For 1, I'm getting out 0. For 2, I'm getting out 0.43. For 3, I'm getting out 0.68. And for 4, I'm getting out 0.86. Now, next, students, you're probably thinking, Mr. Arrow, what do I do with this 0.1? Well, there's many ways to take care of that. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to take 0.1 and we're going to put it into our original function. So here we go. Log base 5 of what? 0.1. So let's come out of your window. Let's go to your regular calculator screen. Okay, come out of your graphing, come out of your table of values, come out of everything, okay? And go to your regular screen. Your regular blank screen. And right there, I want you to type in, what is your argument here? Your argument is 0.1. So type in log 0.1, close the parentheses, hit divided by, and then log parentheses 5. And then hit enter. Okay, I'm going to do that now and see what I get. So hold on 1 second here, log of 0.1, close my parentheses, divided by log of 5. Enter, and I'm getting -1.4. So now I'm ready to sketch my graph, guys. Pretty simple. So at 0.1, when I'm barely past the asymptote here, I'm going to go to -1.4. So about right here. Okay, my next point is 1, 0. My next point is over 2, up 0.4. Over 3, up 0.6. Over 4. Now it looks like there's an asymptote right here. It looks like it's getting closer to 1, but that's not true. Look at your table of values on your graphing calculator. If you do that, you'll see if you go down to 5, you get 1. If you go down to 6, you get 1.1. 7 is 1.2, etc. Okay? So, here we go. The graph, so there is no, what I'm trying to show you, there is no horizontal asymptote, okay? Just the vertical asymptote. So here we go. Sketch your graph like this. Here we go. Sketch your graph like this. And we are good to go. Not too difficult, okay? Now, in your homework tonight, they're going to ask you for 3 things. They're going to ask you for the vertical asymptote. After you graph it, they're going to ask you for the domain. And they're going to ask you for the X-Intercept. Okay, now remember, let's take this one step at a time. The vertical asymptote is right here, going through the x-axis is 0. So the vertical asymptote would be x equals 0. Okay? Put an arrow here. The domain would be, well, hold on, let's come back to that. The x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis at, so 1. And by the way, if you don't have that on your graph, if you don't know where the x-intercept is, remember from algebra, all that you have to do is put a 0 in over here. Okay? In other words, all that you want to know is when y is 0, what is x going to be? Is all you need to know. Okay? So the x-intercept here is obviously 1. Okay? Now, the domain. The domain. Well, guys, don't forget domain deals with your what values? X values. So what can x be? Well, look, guys, x is to the right of 0. Right? So here's the domain. The domain is simply x is greater than 0. That's all you got to put. Because your asymptote was 0, and you're to the right of the asymptote. There we go. Done. Moving on. Okay? We'll do some more of these, all right? But know how to make sure you know how to find the domain, x-intercept, and vertical asymptote. Okay? All right, moving on to the next one. Copy this in your notes, please. Okay, copy this in your notes, and here we go. Now, students, first of all, notice there's no parentheses. Okay? So we are only taking the logarithm of x, not x plus 2. So step 1 says to find the vertical asymptote by taking your argument and setting it equal to 0 and solving. So your argument is x, take x, set it equal to 0 and solve. So there we go. There's your vertical asymptote, once again 0. Pretty simple, okay guys? There we go. Now, let's go ahead and make a table of values here. And now think about it, guys. The graph is either going to be on this side over here or this side over here. Well, there's no way it can be over here. There's no way. If you put a -1 in for x right here, you cannot take the log of -1. It can't be done. Okay? So, we know the graph has to take place on the right side of the graph. Over here. So I'm going to get real close. I'm going to go barely past the vertical asymptote. I'm going to put 0.1. Okay? I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay? Now let's go ahead and get our calculators. Okay? Let's go back to the top left button, y equals, like this. Hit that button. And now listen, students, when you go to type this into your calculator right here, look, it's so easy to do. You don't have to use your change the base formula. There's no need. It's already a natural log. So you just type in ln, and then the parentheses will pop up. So when you put your x, students, be sure and close your parentheses, and then push +2. And now you're all set. Now go ahead and go to your table of values. So hit second graph for your table of values, and here we go. 1 is going to give me out of 2. 2 will give me out a 2.7. 3 will give me out a 3.1. 4 will give me out a 3.4. Okay, there we go. Now what about 0.1? Well, let's put it in. Let's find out. Natural log of x. So natural log of 0.1, close the parentheses, plus 2. So come out of your graphing mode, go to your blank screen, your regular blank screen, then type in natural log of 0.1 plus 2. Enter. And you should get this, negative 0.3. Okay, so we're ready to sketch this graph. Here we go. 0.1 is negative 0.3, so about right here. 1 is up 2. 2 is up 2.7. 3 is up 3.1. 4 is up 3.4. About right here. So there we go. Got a pretty good idea of what it looks like, okay? It's always going to be a curve, just like your exponentials, okay? There we go. Now, students, remember on the homework, they're going to ask you for the vertical asymptote. They're going to ask you for the X-intercept. They're going to ask you for the domain. Okay, well, the domain is very obvious. The domain is x is greater than 0 because we're to the right of 0. Here's your vertical asymptote right here at 0. Okay, so your vertical asymptote is x equals 0. It's at 0. Now, the X-intercept is really easy to, well, it's sometimes easy to find, and sometimes it's not. For example, in the last problem that we did, we knew the X-intercept because there was 0 right here on the y table, the y part of the table of values. Okay, but now we don't have that over here. It's not there. There's no 0 over here. So here's what you do. Please take some really good notes. You need to be able to do this, okay? Here we go. How do you find the X-intercept? Well, we know from algebra, if you're looking for the y-intercept, you put 0 in for x. And if you're looking for the X-intercept, you put 0 in for y, or g of x. So I'm looking for the X-intercept, so I'm going to put 0 in for y. So put a 0 right here. And we know what to do from here, guys. We solved these yesterday. Bring the 2 over, make it a what? A negative 2, right? Sure. Now you know how to rewrite these exponentially. Remember how to write these exponentially? Negative 2 equals what? Natural log is log base e. Now write this exponentially. E to the what? Negative 2 equals x. So there it is. Now you know what x is. E to the negative 2. So with your calculator, type in e to the negative 2 and you'll get this out. 0.135. So 0.135 equals what, guys? Equals x when y is what? 0. So there's your y-intercept. 0.135. In other words, on this graph right here, we have this ordered pair. And that's that point right there. Okay, right there. Okay, take some really good notes. So if you're getting this one more problem, we're done. Okay, now, this will be a little more interesting. So here we go, students, okay? Watch carefully. Now, first of all, step 1, take your argument, set it equal to 0 and solve. Here's your whole argument, because it is in parentheses. Okay, so there we go. Bring your 2 over, make it a negative 2. And your vertical asymptote is at negative 2. There we go. Not too bad. There we go. Now next, we write our table of values, and we say to ourselves, okay, either I'm going to go to the right of this or to the left. Well, there's no way it's going to be negative 3. Negative 3, there's no way. Put a negative 3 in right here, and what do you get? Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, and you can't take the logarithm of a negative number. So we know the graph is not going to be on the left side, it'll be over here. So I'm going to put, I'm going to go right past this vertical asymptote, barely past 0.2. What would that be, guys? Well, here's 0, negative 1. Right before you get to negative 2 is negative 1.9. Think about it. Here's 0, here's 1, and then 1.9, then 2. So I'm going to put in 1.9. Okay? Negatives. All right, negative 1.9. And then put in negative 1, then 0, then 1, and then 2. Okay, now next. Now, let's go to our table of values. Now, be very careful typing this in, okay? Go to your y equals. Okay, come down here. Now, you're going to type this into your calculator. Okay, so hit your y equals button, and then you're going to type in, now, what is your argument? X plus 2. So you hit log, and it pops this. And then type in x plus 2, close your parentheses, then put divided by, and then log of your base, which is 5. Just like we learned. Okay, there we go. So you should type it in. Now, if you did that correctly, then you're ready for your table of values. So here we go. Go to your table of values, and we're going to look at negative 1 is 0. So that's taken care of. I don't have to worry about finding the X-Intercept on that one. 0 is 0.43. 1 is 0.68. And 2 is 0.86. And if we want to go one more, just for the fun of it, you don't have to, but 3 would be 1. Okay? There we go. So we're looking pretty good here. We got to find this one here. Okay. All right, let's put our negative 1.9 in for x here. So we have log of base 5, parentheses, negative 1.9 plus 2. Well, guys, negative, think about it, negative 1.9 plus 2 is going to give you hold on one second here, is going to give you 0.1. Okay, right here. So log base 5 of 0.1. Well, your calculator's not do base 5, so you have to type in your calculator log of the argument, 0.1, then divided by log of the base. Like that. Okay, now if you type that in correctly, you will get, let's see here, you will get log of 0.1 divided by log of 5. Enter, you will get negative 1.4. There we go. So we're all set. Last one and we're done. Here we go. Negative 1.9, negative 1.4. Negative 1 is 0. 0 is 0.4. 1 is 0.6. And then here, and 3 is 1. And so we have our graph. Here we go. Nice curve. Okay. Here we go. All right, now remember in your homework they're going to ask you for the domain. So write this down. The domain would be, well, here it is. We're at 2, so x is greater than negative 2. Now if the graph would have been over here on this side, then you would have said x is less than negative 2. Okay, but it's not. It's on the right side of the asymptote. So there's your domain. X is greater than negative 2. Your asymptote is right at negative 2. Negative 2. Now your X-intercept was found for you already right here. Here's y is 0, so your X-intercept is negative 1. And then your vertical asymptote would be x equals what? Negative 2. X equals negative 2. Students, if you will learn these steps, excuse me. You get a drink here. If you will learn these 3 steps right here, you will do fine on graphing logarithmic functions, okay? So that's it for today. I hope this has been a help to you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call or email.